A former slot technician just revealed something that casinos absolutely don't want you knowing. For 7 years, I installed and maintained slot machines, and what I discovered will probably save you thousands of dollars. Smart players lose money faster than casual gamblers, and I'm about to tell you exactly why. Let me tell you about Michael. He was an engineer who walked into our casino 3 times a week with a leather bound notebook and what he called his system. Michael spent months creating an elaborate spreadsheet that tracked every machine on our floor. He recorded spin results, bonus frequencies, and payout patterns. He color coded hot machines in red and cold machines in blue. Before every session, he'd review his data for 30 minutes, identifying which machines were statistically due for a payout. He genuinely believed he'd cracked the code. Here's what Michael didn't understand about random number generators. According to internal documentation from slot manufacturers, these RNG chips cycle through millions of number combinations every single second. Even when nobody's playing, the RNG continues generating results. The moment you press that spin button, you're simply stopping the RNG at whatever microsecond you happen to press it. There's no pattern, there's no cycle, there's no machine memory of previous spins. The cruel irony is that Michael's intelligence worked against him. Every hour he spent tracking data was another hour sitting at those machines. Every spreadsheet update meant another session convincing himself he had an edge. Now, former floor managers have told me they loved players like Michael because the time invested in tracking created psychological commitment. These players couldn't walk away. They had too much research invested. Michael's elaborate system had exactly 0% improvement over random selection. But here's what it did accomplish. 6 months of disciplined tracking, 3 times weekly sessions, and detailed record keeping resulted in $12,000 in losses. His system didn't fail because he tracked incorrectly. It failed because he was tracking random data and finding patterns that didn't exist. His engineering mind saw a signal in pure noise, and that false confidence kept him playing longer than any casual gambler would have stayed. The mathematical reality is simple. The longer you play, the more certain your loss becomes. Michael's intelligence didn't give him an edge. It gave him false confidence to maximize his exposure to the house edge. But if you think pattern tracking is bad, wait until you hear about smart player mistake number 2. Smart players love bankroll management systems. They read gambling books written for poker professionals and blackjack card counters, then apply those same disciplined principles to slot machines. They set loss limits, win goals, and strict session budgets. They feel responsible, controlled, and professional. That's exactly what makes them perfect casino customers. Let me introduce you to Jennifer. She had an MBA from a top business school and managed a 6-figure investment portfolio. When she decided to gamble, she approached it like any other financial activity. She allocated $500 per casino visit, never carried credit cards to the floor, and maintained detailed spreadsheets tracking every session. She had stop-loss limits at $250 and win goals at $750. On paper, her approach looked flawless. Here's what Jennifer's business school education didn't teach her about negative expectation games. On a machine with an 88% return to player rate, every dollar you bet returns 88 cents on average. Disciplined bankroll management doesn't change that fundamental mathematics. What it does change is how long you're exposed to that 12% house edge. According to former floor managers I worked with, the ideal customer isn't someone who puts $500 in a machine and loses it in 30 minutes. The ideal customer is someone like Jennifer who makes that $500 last 4 hours through careful bet sizing and disciplined play. Let's break down the mathematics. A reckless player who walks up and bets $500 on maximum lines might cycle through $10,000 in total action before busting out. A disciplined player like Jennifer, betting carefully and managing her bankroll, might cycle through $40,000 in total action during that same 4-hour session. At a 12% house edge, the reckless player loses the expected $600. But Jennifer, with her professional bankroll management, exposes herself to $4,800 in expected losses. Her discipline didn't protect her money. It maximized the casino's mathematical edge against her. Jennifer lost $9,000 over 8 months of disciplined, responsible play. She never broke her rules. She never chased losses. She never made impulsive decisions. Her intelligence and discipline ensured she played longer sessions with higher total action than casual gamblers ever achieved. And if you think bankroll management is counterproductive, smart player mistake number 3 is even worse because it involves actual research into how these machines work. Smart players study return to player percentages. They spend hours researching which machines offer the best RTP rates, avoiding anything below 90%, and seeking out those rare 94 or 96% games. They feel informed and savvy. They're making data-driven decisions. That's exactly the trap. David was a data analyst who refused to play any machine without first researching its RTP. He found online databases listing payout percentages for every major slot title. He created a casino strategy focusing exclusively on high RTP games. He avoided Wheel of Fortune with its 87% return and played only certified 92% and above machines. He thought he was playing smart. Here's what David misunderstood about RTP calculations. According to technical documentation from manufacturers, these percentages are calculated over millions of spins. A 94% RTP means that after 10 million spins, the machine will have returned 94% of all money wagered. It tells you absolutely nothing about your next 4-hour session. Former employees I've spoken with explain that high RTP machines often feature higher volatility, meaning bigger swings between wins and losses. These machines might go 300 spins without a significant hit, then pay out a massive bonus that mathematically balances the overall return rate. The psychology is insidious. David would hit brutal losing streaks on his 94% RTP machine, but instead of walking away, he'd think about that 6% house edge and convince himself he was still making the smart play. Internal reports from casino analytics teams suggest they actually preferred when players asked about RTP. These informed players stayed longer, bet more confidently, and rationalized deeper losses because they believed they were on good machines. David lost $8,000 playing exclusively high RTP games. He wasn't unlucky. He was misinformed about what those numbers actually meant for individual sessions. His research didn't protect him. It gave him confidence to keep playing through variants that would have chased away less informed gamblers. Now, these first 3 mistakes are common among smart players, but mistake number 4 is where things really get dangerous. Smart players hunt bonus rounds like mathematicians solving equations. They track spins between features, calculate average trigger frequencies, and convince themselves they can identify when a machine is due. This is the gambler's fallacy wrapped in spreadsheets and data analysis, and it destroys bankrolls faster than almost any other strategy. Rachel worked as an accountant for a major firm. She approached slot machines the way she approached balance sheets, with meticulous record-keeping and statistical analysis. She discovered that Lightning Link triggered its bonus feature approximately once every 120 spins. She'd sit at a machine with a notepad, tracking every spin, and if she saw someone leave after 80 or 90 spins without a bonus, she'd immediately take that seat. In her mind, the math was simple. That machine was due. Here's the fundamental problem with Rachel's strategy. Every single spin on a modern slot machine is an independent event. According to programming specifications from manufacturers, the random number generator doesn't remember what happened on the previous spin. A machine that just paid a bonus has exactly the same probability of paying another bonus on the very next spin as a machine that hasn't hit in 500 spins. That average of 1 in 120 spins is calculated over millions of attempts. It's not a schedule, it's not a pattern. It's a statistical average that tells you nothing about individual session probability. I've personally witnessed machines go 600 spins without triggering a bonus feature. I've also seen the same machine hit bonus rounds on back-to-back spins 3 times in a single hour. The RNG doesn't care about averages during your 4-hour session. Former slot technicians have documented cases of players like Rachel sitting at machines for 8 consecutive hours, convinced the bonus was due any spin now, watching their entire bankroll disappear while chasing mathematical probability that doesn't apply to small sample sizes. Rachel lost $15,000 over 9 months chasing due bonuses. Her intelligence made the fallacy more convincing because she had data supporting her beliefs. She'd tracked hundreds of sessions. She'd seen her averages play out over time. What she didn't understand was that observation doesn't change underlying probability. There's one story about this specific mistake that's so heartbreaking, I'll share it later. But first, I need to tell you about mistake number 5, because it actually uses mathematics correctly while still destroying players financially. Before I reveal smart player mistake number 5, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this channel. This information could save you thousands of dollars, and letting me know in the comments what smart strategy you've tried that didn't work helps other viewers avoid the same expensive mistakes. Smart players attempt advantage play on slot machines. They study must-hit progressive jackpots, looking for meters that are approaching their maximum values. They hunt for banked bonus games where previous players have built up accumulated features. They calculate theoretical edges and treat casino gambling like a part-time profession. This might work in poker or blackjack, but on modern slot machines, it's a trap that wastes enormous amounts of time for negligible returns. Thomas considered himself a semi-professional advantage player. He'd read books about slot advantage play and joined online forums where players shared information about profitable opportunities. He'd drive to multiple casinos searching for progressives that were mathematically positive expectation. He'd spend 6 hours playing a must-hit-buy jackpot that was at 97% of its maximum value, grinding out $2 bets until it finally triggered. He calculated his theoretical edge and felt like he'd found a legitimate way to profit from casinos. Here's what Thomas didn't account for in his advantage play calculations. Modern server-based gaming systems allow casinos to monitor individual machine performance in real time. According to former surveillance team members, casinos track advantage players and adjust progressive parameters accordingly. Oh, that must-hit jackpot that Thomas thought was positive expectation? The casino adjusted the base game return rate downward to compensate for the progressive meter. His 2% theoretical edge existed on paper, but disappeared in actual programming adjustments he couldn't see. The financial reality was even worse than the mathematics suggested. Thomas spent 20 hours per week hunting advantage plays. He calculated he was earning approximately $4 per hour after accounting for losses on plays that didn't work out as expected. He could have worked a minimum wage job and earned more money with zero risk. His intelligence justified enormous time investment for returns that wouldn't cover his gas money driving between casinos. The real trap wasn't the mathematics. It was that his analytical mind convinced him this qualified as professional gambling rather than an expensive hobby. Thomas destroyed a 3-year relationship because his girlfriend got tired of weekend casino trips, framed as work obligations. He didn't have a gambling problem in the traditional sense. He had an intelligence problem that made him believe he'd found an edge that didn't actually exist in modern casino environments. Now we're getting to the most dangerous mistakes on this list. Smart player mistake number 6 is so problematic that I actually tried to warn players about it when I still worked on casino floors. And they'd get angry at me for questioning their strategy. Smart players optimize multi-line betting configurations like they're solving engineering problems. They calculate hit frequencies across different line combinations, determine mathematically optimal denomination and line pairings, and convince themselves they've found inefficiencies in game design. This approach sounds logical and data-driven. That's exactly why it's so devastating to bankrolls. Patricia was a retired mathematics teacher who spent her first month of retirement researching slot machine line configurations. She discovered that betting fewer lines at higher denominations theoretically offered better return percentages than maximum lines at minimum denomination. She developed a specific strategy for Buffalo games, betting 8 lines at 50 cents per line instead of the standard 30 lines at minimum bet. Her calculations showed this configuration should reduce overall variance while maintaining reasonable hit frequency. She felt like she discovered something most players missed. Here's what actually happens with optimized line betting strategies. According to internal performance reports, players using these reduced line configurations experienced 40% longer average session times than maximum line players. The mathematics seems sound on paper. Fewer lines at higher denomination does change the volatility profile. What Patricia didn't calculate was the psychological impact of near misses on unplayed lines. Former floor managers reported that players using partial line strategies experienced constant near miss scenarios where winning combinations landed on lines they hadn't activated. But these near misses created powerful urges to switch strategies mid session or increase line counts after watching potential wins appear just above or below active pay lines. The financial devastation comes from the combination of extended session time and mid session strategy changes. Patricia would start with her disciplined 8-line approach, watch 3 consecutive bonus symbols land on line 12, which she hadn't activated, then switch to maximum lines for the next 200 spins trying to capture what she'd missed. Her intelligent optimization strategy became a casino's perfect trap. She'd calculated optimal configurations but hadn't accounted for the emotional response to seeing wins on unplayed lines. Casino player tracking data shows these optimized players generated substantially higher lifetime value than straightforward maximum bet players because they played longer while constantly second-guessing their configurations. Patricia lost $23,000 over 18 months of optimized play. The worst part wasn't just her personal losses. She taught this system to 4 friends from her book club, convincing them she'd found a mathematically superior approach. All of them lost significant money using her optimization strategy. Her intelligence didn't just hurt her own bankroll, it created multiplier effects that damaged people who trusted her analytical abilities. And speaking of strategies that sound mathematically perfect but cost more money, smart player mistake number 7 involves the most common advice given to gamblers. Smart players set session win goals and stick to them with iron discipline. They'll tell you their system is simple. Walk away when you're up $500 or down $300, whichever comes first. This sounds like perfect bankroll management. It sounds responsible and professional. The mathematics of negative expectation games makes this strategy actively harmful to your finances over time. Marcus owned a successful contracting business and approached casino gambling with the same disciplined mindset he used in business. He set strict rules for every session. Walk away at plus $500 or minus $300. He never broke these rules. He'd leave mid-bonus round if he hit his win goal. No, he'd walk away from a hot streak to preserve profits. He tracked every session in detailed spreadsheets, and his records showed he had winning sessions 42% of the time. He thought this proved his system worked. Here's the mathematical reality Marcus missed. On a slot machine with a 90% return to player rate, the probability of reaching a plus $500 win goal is dramatically lower than hitting a minus $300 loss limit. Technical analysis shows that players using asymmetric win-loss goals will hit their loss limits approximately 3 times more frequently than their win goals. Marcus's 42% winning session rate sounds impressive until you calculate the actual dollars. His winning sessions averaged $480. His losing sessions hit the $300 stop loss. Over 1 year of twice-weekly play, he had 44 winning sessions totaling $21,000 and 60 losing sessions totaling $18,000. Net result, $3,000 ahead, right? Wrong. What Marcus's spreadsheet didn't capture was the session where he walked away at plus 500, came back 3 hours later because he had time to kill, and started a new session that hit the minus 300 stop loss. Former casino hosts have explained they loved players with win goals because these disciplined players always came back. Every winning session created justification for the next visit. Every loss limit preserved enough bankroll to ensure return trips. Marcus's annual tracking showed him slightly ahead. But his casino player card told a different story. Over that same year, his total coin-in was $1.2 million. At a 10% house edge, his expected loss was $18,000. His actual loss, when accounting for every session, including same-day returns and mid-session breaks, he didn't track as separate sessions, was $21,000. The discipline he was so proud of simply ensured he kept coming back, kept playing, and kept exposing himself to that mathematical edge. His intelligence created a beautiful spreadsheet that lied to him about his actual results. Now, smart player mistake number 8 is where things get really dark, because this is where smart players actually help casinos trap other people through a mechanism most of them don't even realize they're participating in. Smart players share their knowledge with others, and that multiplier effect might be the darkest aspect of casino psychology I witnessed during my 7 years in the industry. One person with a system doesn't just hurt themselves, they create dozens of secondary victims who trust their expertise, their data, and their apparent success. This is how intelligence becomes contagious financial harm. Frank moderated one of the largest slot machine strategy forums on the internet. He had 14,000 followers who read his detailed trip reports, studied his betting progressions, and implemented his machine selection criteria. Frank posted elaborate analyses of his casino sessions, complete with photographs of winning screens, charts showing his monthly profits, and detailed explanations of his hybrid system combining bankroll management, ERTP research, bonus hunting, and line optimization. His credentials looked impeccable. He'd been playing for 6 years, he maintained meticulous records, he posted screenshots of four-figure jackpots. His followers called him a genius. What Frank's followers didn't see were the losses he didn't photograph. They didn't see the credit card statements or the personal loan he'd taken out. They saw confirmation bias wrapped in data visualization. According to former casino marketing directors I've spoken with, they actively monitored gambling forums and never shut down misinformation, because these communities were creating new customers faster than any advertising campaign could achieve. Every Frank follower who walked into a casino with confidence they'd learned winning strategies was a gift to the house edge. The specific harm was measurable and devastating. 3 of Frank's followers reached out to forum administrators, sharing their stories after hitting financial crisis points. Collectively, these 3 individuals lost over $200,000 implementing strategies Frank had taught them. One was a retired teacher who lost $40,000 of her pension rollover following Frank's advice about high-denomination play on specific progressive games. She'd read his post about hitting major jackpots on these machines and believed his system gave her an edge. She never hit anything close to the wins Frank had posted. She couldn't understand why his strategy worked for him, but failed for her. The explanation was simple statistics and selective posting. Frank hit occasional jackpots because he played enormous volume. He photographed his wins and rarely documented his losses. His followers saw success without understanding the underlying mathematics. Former employees have told me they'd watch forum players walk onto the floor with printouts of Frank's strategies, and these players consistently lost faster than casual gamblers because they played with confidence. They bet higher amounts. They stayed through longer losing streaks because the system said variance was temporary. They trusted data that was fundamentally misleading. The most heartbreaking element was that Frank genuinely believed he was helping people. Remember that story I mentioned about bonus hunting? The elderly teacher was that story. She'd tracked spins between Lightning Link bonuses for 3 months based on Frank's forum posts about average trigger frequencies. She lost her entire $40,000 rollover in 6 weeks chasing bonuses that were mathematically due. Teaching others reinforced Frank's own false beliefs because he saw his system replicated across his community. His intelligence created an echo chamber where everyone confirmed everyone else's losing strategies. And now we get to smart player mistake number 9, which might be the worst on this entire list because it's specifically engineered by casinos to exploit mathematical thinking. Progressive betting systems represent the ultimate trap for intelligent players. And casinos have spent decades perfecting machines specifically designed to exploit mathematical minds who discover martingale, Fibonacci, and D'Alembert progressions. These systems sound mathematically bulletproof. They feel like they've revealed a fundamental flaw in casino game design. That's precisely why they destroy bankrolls faster than any other strategy on this list. Stephen was a software developer who approached gambling the way he approached debugging code. He programmed Monte Carlo simulations testing various betting progressions on slot machines. His computer models ran millions of trials, and the data showed that Fibonacci progressions on medium volatility games produced positive results over simulated sessions. He'd found what looked like a mathematical certainty. He started with $5 base bets on Buffalo Gold, doubling after losses according to his tested progression. His simulation software had proven this worked. Here's what Stevens' simulations didn't account for. Slot machines have maximum bet limits specifically calibrated to destroy progression systems. According to programming documentation I reviewed during my years as a technician, manufacturers work directly with casino management to set limits that break common betting progressions after relatively short losing streaks. A $5 minimum bet with a $500 maximum only allows 7 consecutive doubles before hitting the ceiling. On a game with 88% return to player rate, 7 loss streaks happen with crushing regularity. Stevens' simulations had modeled unlimited betting ranges. Reality had hard stops built into every machine on the floor. The weekend Steven implemented his proven system, he lost $35,000. His progression hit max bet limits 4 times in 6 hours. Each time, he had to start over at base bet, having lost the cumulative amount of his entire progression with no way to recover. Former casino surveillance staff have told me they specifically monitor progressive bettors because these players lose catastrophic amounts in compressed timeframes. The confidence from mathematical models combines with the mechanics of exponential bet growth to create financial destruction at a pace that shocks even experienced gambling addicts. Stevens' family staged an intervention after that weekend. His intelligence hadn't given him an edge. It had optimized the speed of his financial collapse. This is why smart players lose faster. They bet more because they trust their systems. They play longer because they believe in their research. They have absolute confidence because they've done the mathematical work. Every single element that makes someone intelligent becomes a liability in an environment with negative expectation. During my 7 years installing these machines, I watched thousands of players, and the pattern was undeniable. The engineers, accountants, teachers, and analysts consistently lost more money than casual players who walked up, played their birthday numbers, and left when they stopped having fun. Intelligence creates exposure, and exposure guarantees loss. Casinos train floor staff to identify smart players specifically because these customers generate premium revenue. According to internal training materials from major casino operators, hosts are taught to recognize players using systems, reward them with comps that encourage longer sessions, and invite them to slot tournaments that reinforce their belief they have skill in a game of pure chance. Internal analytics reports show players who implement strategies have 3 times higher annual loss rates than casual gamblers. Your intelligence isn't protecting you from the house edge. It's maximizing the casino's profit from your play. After 7 years watching smart people destroy their finances on machines I'd installed with my own hands, I couldn't participate in that system anymore. The elderly woman who lost her pension following forum advice haunted me. The software developer who lost $35,000 in one weekend still sends me LinkedIn messages asking if I think his simulation model was flawed. These weren't stupid people. Yet they were intelligent people in an environment specifically engineered to weaponize intelligence against bankrolls. Here's your rapid summary of all 9 catastrophic mistakes. Pattern tracking wastes time while increasing exposure. Bankroll management extends sessions and maximizes total action against the house edge. RTP research creates false confidence on high-variance games. Bonus hunting applies statistics incorrectly to independent events. Advantage play attempts waste enormous time for negligible returns on server-based systems. Line optimization creates psychological traps through near misses on unplayed lines. Session win goals ensure you keep returning until cumulative losses overwhelm scattered wins. Teaching others multiplies the harm exponentially across communities. Progressive betting systems hit built-in limits designed to break mathematical progressions. Every single strategy shares one common element: intelligence creating confidence to play longer and bet bigger. The house always wins, and they win fastest against players who think they've found an edge. Your intelligence is their biggest advantage because it convinces you that this time will be different, this system is better, this strategy is smarter. If this breakdown of how casinos exploit intelligence saved you money, subscribe to this channel. Share your story in the comments about which smart strategy backfired on you. The only people who benefit from gambling education are casinos, and at least now you understand exactly why smart players help them win faster.